This is 7 News.
Tonight, the bomb squad called in after thieves blow up 2 ATMs at a Perth shopping centre. A heart-stopping rescue.
Okay, get the bag up for me.
A toddler put in a bag to save him from Queensland's flood disaster. And families out in force as Perth skies light up for Australia Day.
From the studios of 7 Perth, Blake Johnson.
Good evening. Thieves have tried to disguise attempts to blow up cash machines by timing the blasts to go off during last night's fireworks. Explosives were strapped to 2 ATMs at Harbour Town in West Perth, but nearby residents weren't fooled and they called police. Grant Taylor reports.
It was 8:15 last night, right in the middle of the Australia Day fireworks. 2 explosions rocked the Harbour Town shopping complex. Inside, 2 automatic teller machines had been blown up, the crime deliberately timed to coincide with explosions going off overhead. Police say what the thieves hadn't banked on was the number of nearby residents who are out on their balconies watching the real fireworks. Ziggy Whitcomb knew straight away something wasn't right. Police were on the scene within minutes.
It was actually rather scary. It sort of shook the ground.
The entire area was locked down as the bomb squad checked for any further devices. None were found, but the damage was extensive. Whoever did it was lucky not to have blown themselves up.
Had anyone have been in the vicinity at that time, even the offender, obviously there is certainly a threat to life.
Can we go in or we can't?
No, sorry guys, we're closed up for the day.
The entire complex remained closed today as forensics continued the search for clues.
Drove the car into Mandurah, then took the train to here, and just been told by 2 security guys that we can't get into the shops today.
Last year, several ATMs were attacked across Perth. Several people were charged over those attacks. Police don't believe there's any link between them and last night's blasts. Grant Taylor, 7 News.
Australia faces an unfolding natural disaster tonight with 1 man dead, 3 people missing and hundreds of homes underwater in Queensland. The weather system that's hit the state with devastating force is moving south into New South Wales.
A tornado hits land at Bargara near Bundaberg in Queensland.
Oh, look at the trees, look at the pines going down. Did you see the pines? Yes. Oh, look at them flying. Oh,
Power poles, fences, homes and trees can't withstand winds and rain like this. Underneath one of those toppling pines, an unlucky couple in this crushed ute who had to be cut out. Sections of the town and its residents were devastated.
And I said, well, my missus was in the caravan, I got mowers out there, car.
At nearby Burnett Heads, another tornado ripped through town. It's estimated 6 of them hit the Bundaberg region, leaving a path of destruction.
Shocking damage. Look at this damage. It's, trees down, power lines down.
This afternoon, the news came through that the body of an elderly man had been found here. The first death, but probably not the last.
Emergency services are searching for a young woman who reportedly drove into waters near Pacific Haven this morning, and we have grave fears for her safety.
The power of the mini tornadoes was also evident at Hervey Bay, cars and signs bearing the brunt. As the storms moved through, floodwaters kept rising, sparking fears and memories of the horror 2011 floods. Most of southeast Queensland was hit. More than 20 houses were inundated at Gladstone, leaving some stuck in evacuation centres. There's widespread flooding in Gympie and reports of localised flooding in Brisbane, the Gold Coast and the Sunshine Coast. Water is also moving through the Lockyer Valley town of Grantham. 12 people died here in the last big floods. There's tipped to be more water this time, just not all at once.
The flood levels are expected to easily exceed the 2010 levels.
More than 40,000 homes are without power, but the worst should be over by tomorrow for Queensland. Sean Berry, 7 News.
To an extraordinary rescue now. A baby and 2 women were plucked from a ute as it was surrounded by rapidly rising floodwaters. Rescuers had to put the terrified toddler into a bag before winching him to safety.
The trapped ute is like an island in rising floodwaters. Their only hope of escape, a helicopter rescue. But there's a problem. The toddler is too small for the harness. Instead, they have to put him into a waterproof equipment bag.
Okay, get the bag up for me. Okay, go on.
The rescue crewman, 38-year-old father of two, Garth Snydrow, had no option. Carrying a wet child is simply too dangerous. A lesson they learned after a near-miss rescue in Grantham 2 years ago.
I'm coming back, all right? I will come back to your boat.
With that, the child is winched to safety. And once inside the chopper, released from the diving bag. Obviously still terrified, but alive. Chris Reason, 7 News.
Perfect weather, peaceful crowds and a fireworks spectacular made for a memorable Australia Day celebration last night. Grant Taylor was among the crowd.
"2013 will be remembered as the year families came back to Skyworks. With alcohol heavily restricted, so was trouble. Those that came enjoying a spectacular and safe Australia Day celebration. Booze bans meant that the daytime crowds were small, police red hot on those flouting the rules. But as the sun set, crowd numbers swelled. The City of Perth estimates 300,000, well up on last year. In South Perth, once the scene of riots, there was barely a hint of violence. The only arrests are cameras captured 2 teens who climbed a 20-metre high tree, both eventually coaxed down safely. Across the state, there were 161 arrests, pretty much what you'd expect on a normal Saturday night. Many of those arrests were well after Skyworks had finished. The other thing the booze ban has helped with is the mess. It's now just over half an hour since the show ended. As you can see, most people have gone and they've taken their rubbish with them. The only issue police say was a concern was the number of drink drivers. 23 people failed a breath test on the way home. Grant Taylor, 7 News.
Police will decide tomorrow whether to continue the search for prospector Michael Graham, who disappeared on the goldfields 2 weeks ago today. His wife and sister have made the difficult decision to drive home to New South Wales. Amelia Broun is following the search.
These are the men police hope will find Michael Graham. They're called the Fast Action Search Team, a group of 5 specially trained trail bike riders brought in from Perth.
We've deployed the motorbikes because they're a very handy tool. They're very mobile. They can respond quickly if the air assets tell us they found something.
Mr Graham disappeared while prospecting with a friend 2 weeks ago. SES volunteers have worked 12-hour shifts covering a search area of almost 2,500 square kilometres.
Michael! This is the SES! Can you hear us?
Survival packs scattered in the bush still haven't been touched by Mr Graham. Police believe recent rain in the area is giving the 46-year-old a better chance of survival.
There's plenty of wells, there's plenty of bores. Some of the troughs we've been to, they will overflow. There's that much water coming out of the ground.
Michael Graham's wife Helen decided to leave Menzies today and drive their car back to New South Wales. She says she'll stop at every police station along the way to keep updated on the search.
We still hold hope that Michael is out there and we are going to find him alive.
In Menzies, Amelia Broun, 7 News.
A police dog was injured after it chased down a group of men accused of breaking into homes in the Rockingham area last night. This is Vector, the police dog, after being treated by vets at Murdoch. He has 8 stitches in the cut on his head. Police say Vector was hurt when he chased down 2 men into a creek after being called to the robberies. It's not known how he was injured.
Stitches will be removed in 10 days to 2 weeks, and once they're done, he'll be back on duty and doing his job.
Police say if someone is found to be responsible for the injury, they'll be charged with animal cruelty. Carlton player Mitch Robinson had to be dragged away from a fight at the Big Day Out festival in Melbourne yesterday. The 23-year-old was at the bottom of an angry pack after an argument exploded into a fight. Carlton has confirmed Mitch Robinson was involved. It's unclear if he'll face any police action. The 71-year-old grandmother from Forestfield is taking on an Australian fast food giant after she was refused service at one of its stores. The disabled former nurse says she was shocked and angry after being turned away by her local McDonald's.
Laurel Miles has one artificial leg and the others in a caliper. Last Friday, she took the 25-minute ride on her gopher to the local shops to see her doctor and chemist. Then she went to the McDonald's drive-thru to get an ice cream.
A 30-cent cone.
But the Forestfield store refused to take her money and refused to give her the ice cream because she was in a gopher. Staff told her the gopher wasn't a motorised vehicle. If she wanted the ice cream, Laurel would have to walk into the store.
I had a few words to say, and at one stage I wasn't very polite.
What did you say?
I actually used the F word.
For 10 years, Laurel has used the drive-thru at this Macca's. Laurel wondered whether fast food outlets had changed their policy, so she tried the Red Rooster next door and had no trouble getting served. Store management weren't willing to talk to us, wouldn't explain why the welcome sign didn't apply to Laurel. Laurel's daughter is furious at her mother's treatment.
I'm still livid about it now. A one-legged granny for a 30-cent ice cream. What would you do?
Geof Parry, 7 News.
Stay with us on 7. Still to come, Labor unveils its election look, plus the Aussie Oscars. Robert De Niro and Jackie Weaver honoured at an Aussie Awards night. And the computer geek who made the shot of a lifetime. The official state election campaign doesn't start for another 10 days, but parties are already pitching hard for your votes. Labor tonight launched a TV campaign to sell its plan for the future. Political editor Geof Parry reports.
Labor is behind in the opinion polls, and opposition leader Mark McGowan has a lot of catch-up to do.
He's a family man who understands your priorities.
We need a government that looks after ordinary people.
This TV commercial urges people to go to a website and download the McGowan plan for Western Australia under a Labor government. Its main themes: housing, public transport, education and health. And the Premier was out today too, with millions to spend on projects with public appeal. $30 million to bankroll a City of Stirling plan for the Scarborough beachfront, and $40 million to reroute Curtin Avenue away from the popular Leighton and Port beaches. It will open up about 4 hectares of land from the old marshalling yards.
No residential. It will be either just simply rehabilitated into coastal dune land, but it's a large area of land and there is scope for recreational facilities in there, whether they're picnic areas.
Mr Barnett also denies he's ordered Liberal MPs not to talk to journalists during the upcoming campaign. So will we see, but we won't see a Colin Barnett presidential-style campaign?
No, I don't think that's ever been my style.
Geof Parry, 7 News.
More than 30 people have been killed in a second day of violent street battles in Egypt. Violence erupted when 21 people were sentenced to death over a soccer riot last year that claimed dozens of lives. Gunfire broke out when protesters tried to storm the jail where the prisoners were being held. The clashes are some of the deadliest since the uprising against former President Hosni Mubarak 2 years ago. The award season continues in the US, with the Australian version of the Oscars being held in Los Angeles. Nicole, Naomi and Hugh were nominated, but actress Jackie Weaver was the only Aussie to walk away with an award. And that is 7 News for this Sunday. Thanks for your company. Good night.